are now listening to the IELTS podcast. Learn from tutors and ex-examiners who are masters of IELTS preparation. Your host, Ben Worthington.
7-day preparation strategy, 30-day IELTS preparation strategy, and your 90-day IELTS preparation strategy. Hi there, my name is Ben Worthington, and in this tutorial, we're going to look at 3 different strategies for you for your IELTS preparation, obviously depending on when you have your exam. My name is Ben Worthington. I'm from the UK. I haven't lived there for like 20 years. I'll be going back home soon to lovely Yorkshire with my family. However, for those 20 years, I've mainly been teaching English. I've been focusing on IELTS preparation now for well over 10 years. Like a lot of English tutors, I literally just rolled off off a Ryanair flight, and I was looking for work, and I was like, okay, there's lots of demand for English tuition. And then I got my first IELTS student, and I was absolutely confused. I was like, wow, this exam is tough. Wow, there is so much riding on this exam. Wow, most of my IELTS students are ridiculously motivated. Now, all decent tutors love working with motivated students. And this was partly my reason. I was like, right, I've got to master this. How did I master IELTS? Well, I started asking tutors. I started asking ex-IELTS examiners, and I was like, this is valuable material. So I started recording it, listening to it later, and then I was like, actually, you know what? I should be publishing this to help other tutors and other students get better at IELTS preparation. And then that's when it hit me. I was like, right, let's start IELTS podcast. We were the first podcast about IELTS. We've been doing this now for over 10 years, as I said. What happens is I interview the experts, and if what they say is useful, I'll test it with my students, and then if it works, I'll put it in the online course, and that's why we've got one of the strongest courses at the moment. And this is why as well, I was like, right, information is all well and good, but the smart students nowadays are using tools. The market has changed, the education scene has changed. Smart students are using tools to pass the exam and learn languages. They're no longer using information. So this is why we launched the AI Essay Check web application that you can use. Just go to IELTSPodcast.com and you'll see it there. When you upgrade to the premium essay checker, which gives you it measures more data points, it gives you a more accurate band score, and you get a special offer for all the courses: the speaking confidence, the band 9 frameworks, the IELTS academic task 1, the reading course. You get an absolutely ridiculously strong offer there. And just one other mention: if you are a developer and you're listening to this tutorial and you want to work with me to develop a speaking app that's going to help students prepare for the exam and is going to boost their confidence and boost their fluency, get in contact. Send me an email, ben@IELTSPodcast.com. In the subject line, put developer in capital letters, and we can team up and we can make an app that the world deserves, because at the moment it's ridiculous. There are students like in villages in India, Nepal, in South America, wherever, that cannot afford an English tutor, so they can't take the IELTS test, and because they can't take the IELTS test, they can't get to England, to Australia, and it's totally unfair. Only the students that can afford a speaking tutor, only the students who can afford to get their writing checked, can actually take the exam, pass, and get to where they want to go. So if you want to help me get all my knowledge about passing the IELTS exam, about improving your speaking skills, then email me. We'll get all this knowledge into a chatbot that's going to prepare the students, give them mock tests, gives them feedback, help them improve their fluency, help them improve their confidence. Now is the time. There's never been a better time to develop this. So let's move forward. Went off on a bit of a tangent there. So 7-day strategy. Now, you're in a rush, so you definitely need to look at the automatic essay checker, the AI essay checker that I told you. You don't have time to wait for a human to give you your essay back. Now, you use the AI essay checker, you upgrade, as I said, because you're going to get more data points. Also, when you upgrade, you'll get the offer for the courses, which give you the Band 9 frameworks, where it's just a case of dropping your idea in, and you'll see a huge, fast improvement in your essay, and it just resolves the whole essay format. What do the examiners want from me? It resolves it. And what you do is you write an essay using that framework, put it into the AI essay checker, get the feedback, and you'll be like, okay, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, I need to work on this. And then go and, I had one student who just corrected it herself, put in another essay, got the feedback, put in another essay, and that's what we call the machine gun approach. And she did amazing with that, and she got the band score she needed. I think she jumped from like 6 to 7.5, just relentlessly a whole weekend writing, modifying, and just tweaking her essays. Obviously, you can't do that for like a month. This is like a very quick, hardcore strategy. Another approach would be identifying the weaknesses using the tool I just mentioned at IELTS Podcast, the AI essay checking tool. Identifying the weaknesses there, and then going online and doing some online quizzes about that. So you might say, okay, I used the modal verb incorrectly here. I'll review the grammar rule, and then I'll go and do some modal verb exercises online, and then I'll come back, write out a few sentences, see if I've mastered it. If you've got time to do that, amazing. If not, you can do the machine gun approach I just mentioned. Now, another technique which I think is incredibly powerful, very underrated. I've learned this when I used this exact technique when I wanted to learn a style of writing that was important for my career before becoming a tutor. What I was doing was called look, cover, write. I looked at a sentence, I covered it up, and then I wrote it from memory. And I would go through essay after essay and article after article, just getting a feel for it. Now, this exercise is pretty useful, especially when you're kind of exhausted or your brain is dead, and you might feel guilty relaxing. So you're just like, okay, I'll just do some look, cover, write exercises. And the good thing is about this is you're probably going to learn some new vocabulary, you're going to learn some new grammar structures, and the more you do it, the better you get at doing this as well. So that's the 7-day preparation strategy. You identify your weakest skills and you work on those. Now then, with the receptive skills, that is the listening and the reading, what you want to do, there's two techniques actually, but the fastest one is you do a mock test and you identify the area or the type of question where you're losing points. And then you find more mock tests and you just do those specific exercises. So it might be gap fill. You might always be losing points on gap fill or sentence completion. So the next time you do a mock test, don't do the whole thing. Just do the gap fill exercises. And then after a few different mock tests, do an entirely new one. And ideally, you would have solved one of the weak spots. If you've got time, you can reverse engineer, but we're getting onto that in a second, in the 30-day preparation. The biggest takeaway, though, for your 7-day preparation strategy is to get feedback and identify your weakest points. If you get that done, you're on the right track. You're going to focus on those, and that's where you're losing points. Now, moving on to the 30-day preparation. Here you've got the luxury of establishing a routine. Personally, for me, my routines always work better in the morning. In the evening, I've got my kid, I'm cooking dinner, I'm brain dead, literally I'm brain dead, and I don't have much capacity anymore. But I know people are different. Some people come awake in the evenings, the night owls, as we say. So you should know by now which is your optimum study time or your optimum productivity time. You establish a routine and you block it out. You make time blocks in your diary, in your agenda, and you're like, okay, mornings 10 till 12 I'll be doing mock tests, I'll be doing essay writing, I'm going to be looking at to what extent essay questions. That's it. And build the habit, build the system in place. There's this quote where it says goals are stupid, and the example, and what you need are systems, and the example is quite eloquent. Let me explain. Everybody who enters the Olympics has the goal of getting gold. Everybody has that goal. Now the ones who achieve it will be the ones who have prepared the most effectively, and a strong preparation comes from like having a system and knowing what to prepare. So it's more about the one who has the system, has the superior preparation. And this is what I'm trying to say. Like if you've got a system, then you're going to have a superior preparation. Having a goal is no longer sufficient. I'm going for band 7. Good for you. Good luck. What's your system for getting to band 7? What's your preparation? What's your schedule? Now, when you're organizing your schedule, you really should be detailed. And there's two things here. You want to be detailed so that when you sit down, you're not wasting 5 minutes figuring out. In my diary, it says IELTS, but I've got no idea. Am I working on my listening? Am I going into reading? Actually, you know what? I'm just going to sit on the couch, get some crisps. I'm going to watch YouTube. No, that's a system for failure. You're never going to get your band 7 like that. So what you do is you identify that one skill that you need. For example, you've done the mock test, you identified the gap fill, and now you write in your diary, I'm going to do gap fill Monday to Wednesday exercises, 8 p.m. when I finish work, and just do 1 hour of gap fill exercises. Be specific. Now, if you want to take this to a next level, after each gap fill exercise, or after you've done each exercise, you write a debrief in your notes or online in your journal, whatever. You write a debrief and you say, did gap fill, struggling with this specific mock exam in Cambridge 12 book, need to figure out the grammar constructions using modal verbs. Now this is optimum, because the next time you sit down and work, you don't have to rely on your memory. You're going straight into it, and maybe you leave some URLs, maybe you leave some websites, some resources that you started to read about, but you didn't finish because you had to go and make dinner, for example. Now, the next day, when you jump into your IELTS preparation, you read your debrief and you're straight into it. You're productive within a couple of minutes. And the one other thing, break it down and just say, okay, it's going to be gap fill this entire week. That's the biggest thing that's holding me back. Once I've got gap fill under control, I'm going to look at the next thing. And determine in advance, am I going for mastery of the gap fill exercises, or do I just need to get it up to 70%? Once you have that clear from the beginning, remember we've only got 30 days, so it's going to be easier then to move on to the next one. Next point, utilize your downtime for listening to English podcasts or radio. This goes back to what I've said in a lot of tutorials prior. You're cooking dinner, put the radio on, put a podcast on in English, of course. You're driving to work. Just make the most of this downtime. You want to be going for immersion. And you might not think you're improving, but trust me, after doing this for a couple of months, the same audio that you listened to a month ago, which you could only pick out keywords, now the penny drops and you're understanding the entire context, the entire conversation. And again, it comes down to just having a system. What's your default action for when you are mowing the lawn? Do you put your headphones on and listen to some audio, Or do you just, walk aimlessly thinking about what you're going to eat tomorrow afternoon? For example. Finally, again, you want to get feedback. You need to know where you're going and you can identify your weaknesses quicker. Get feedback on your speaking, get feedback on your writing. Now, one little hack for the speaking is go online and just put something like Insurance Services UK, and you're going to see a ton of adverts. Just ring them up, talk with them. Because it's insurance or credit card or buying property, whatever, it's going to be high value, so they can afford to put somebody on the call. They can afford to have somebody talking to you, and you just speak chat with them, ask them questions, aim for a 5-minute conversation. That's it. It's a little bit sneaky, but the reason why I'm saying you're doing this, it's going to boost your confidence, and you're going to identify people don't understand me when I mention the cities in England, or people don't understand me when I start talking using hypotheticals. Now, again, if you're pushed for time, you can accelerate your progress by getting the feedback, or even just getting a shortcut by looking at a course that gives you frameworks for you to organize your task to your part 2 Q card answer. Gives you frameworks and again a system so you answer quickly, coherently, and automatically and grammatically accurately the first time you get the question. This is what I was saying, like, we need to get this knowledge into an app. We need to get this knowledge out there so more students can pass this IELTS exam and get the career they deserve. So to get to the end of what I'm saying, if you need to improve faster, then get a hold of some frameworks that will help you organize your answers and just speed up your progress. With the writing, I was writing essay after essay, and I quickly discovered that they're all using a similar framework. And this was a framework, and then I gave it to my students, and they're like, wow, this is pretty good stuff. And they're like, this is about 7 years ago. Now we've developed a Band 9 framework, and it's more specific, and you can use it. We've got like 4 or 5 specific Band 9 frameworks, one for advantage, disadvantage questions, one for to what extent. Now, you can discover these frameworks yourself by writing out hundreds and hundreds of essays. You can do this and discover them yourself if you've got the time, but I imagine if you've got 30 days, you probably don't have the time to write out hundreds and hundreds of essays. But if you do want access to these frameworks, then as I said, sign up for the premium checker, and then once you're on that premium checker, you'll get an insanely decent opportunity to buy the whole bundle of courses which guide you through using the frameworks. Now, if you've got 2 to 3 months preparation or more, then this is the smartest way. I know that sometimes the IELTS can come up as a surprise, or I know that maybe you've been working on your preparation for the last other things. You're finishing your PhD, finishing your dissertation, finishing your school exams, and working on your application to get into Manchester Uni, Edinburgh University, Toronto for a master's, whatever. And now it's all of a sudden, it's like, oh, got to study for this IELTS exam. However, if you do have the luxury of having around 90 days to prepare, again, you want to do what we talked about before. Get that routine, get a system in place, take regular practice tests, build that environment around you. And now you've got the luxury of really kind of not only correcting your mistakes, but if you're working and you're sending in your essays to me for correction, or we're working online together in a private student teacher capacity, then, and we've been working for a while, or you've already got a reasonable level, then in this case, we're probably working on improvement rather than correction, especially if you've got like 90 days. In some cases, we can start working on improvement. This is probably more for the students going for band 8s or 9s. Now, these are my favorite incidences This is what I like doing better. This is what I like doing the best, is working on improvements, bringing in intonation, bringing in some character into the speaking delivery, bringing in some higher language stylistic features into the students' writing. And if you're at this level and you're going for a Band 8, then again, the online course, we've got a whole module about this where we discuss like advanced features of academic writing. And it's lovely working with students like this because you see an instant improvement that in some cases they're writing essays that are superior to native English speakers who are totally unaware of these stylistic elements. And it's just day and night. And yeah, so that's probably what you want to be doing in the 90-day, like 2 to 3 month time of preparation. You're working on correcting your errors, but you've got time to work on it so much that what was previously a weak spot of your language ability is now a strength because you've worked on it so much. And you'll see this a lot. A student, a public speaker may have started off with a stutter or a speech impediment, such as a stutter. And they work on that skill so much that that weakness now becomes a strength. Just as a side note, this happens to me in quite a few things because I hardly had any skills. Once I left college, once I left uni, I realized I had very few skills. And one of the weaknesses I had was like organization. And I worked on it, and like I was missing flights, I was losing passports, I was just an absolute basket case, as they say in England. And now I've worked on it so much, and it's so important to me that just a few months ago we were going on holiday, we were in the airport, and thanks to my madness now and my over planning and over organization, I got my family to the airport 3 hours early. My wife wasn't happy. She's like, what are we going to do now? Don't even have his gate number for the next 2 hours. But as soon as we sat down, I was like, there's no way I'm missing that flight. You know, and this is just like, this just demonstrates like the state you want to be in. You want to work on your weaknesses so much that they become your strengths. Like, as I said, the guy with the speech impediment becomes a public speaker. I have a friend actually who had so many problems with his shyness. And you know what now? Now he's a polyglot and he speaks like 9 different languages. So it just goes to show, like, you work on these weaknesses, and if you give yourself the time, the patience and the energy, and you know, you put a system behind it, you can make this weakness become your strength. You work on it so much. And this has happened in so many aspects of my life. I've worked on something so much. So yeah, I can definitely recommend that. Now, that's it for today. We've reached the time limit of the tutorial. And I just want to say, like, if you are preparing for the IELTS exam, there has never been a better time. Nowadays, you've got tools, you've got resources out there, and with some dedication, with a strong system, you can get there. You can do this. You're built for this. You've learnt your own language. There's no reason why you can't excel in English. You know, you've probably got your university place already. You've probably halfway to getting to working in England already. You've probably been living in Australia for a while. You just need the IELTS for your PR. You just need to satisfy these bureaucrats with this piece of paper. Well, there's never been a better time. And you can do this. You're built for this. Okay, so don't get frustrated. Don't get upset. Just keep moving forward. Put in the work and you will get there. And if you're struggling, get in contact. Go to IELTSPodcast.com, sign up. You'll get a list of resources there. You'll be able to use our essay checker for free. And just one last thing, if you're a developer and you're interested in language applications and linguistics, and you want to help me help more students, another couple of million students, pass this IELTS exam, team up with me. and we're going to make the best speaking app for passing IELTS. And then after that, if you're interested, after that, we're going to make an app for helping students learn English. Again, we're going for the widest possible audience to help as many people as possible. So if you're a developer, get in contact, ben@IELTSPodcast.com. Put in the subject line developer in capital letters, shout it out to me. You'll get forwarded onto my personal email and I'll be in contact. Have a beautiful day, keep moving forward. You've got this, you can pass the IELTS exam. You're built for this. All the best.
Thanks for listening to IELTSPodcast.com.